term life insurance. You ever heard of term? They're like, yeah, I've heard of term. Great. Well, hey, do you know much about term life insurance? Or do you know much about life insurance? No, not really. Great. Well, that's my job. I want to make sure that you understand what types of policies you can have within your plan. So a term life insurance plan. Term life insurance. All right, so term life insurance is fantastic. It's a policy that you can get a huge death benefit for a really low amount of money. You can get $1 million in protection for less than you spend at Starbucks every single day. Less than that cup of coffee. You can make sure that if something happens to you, your family gets a tax-free check for $1 million. Okay? And I always illustrate out 1 million. Always start conversations at 1 million using this. Okay? I actually recommend starting every life insurance conversation at 1 million when you're in the conversation. Now, some of these playbooks, some of these word tracks within what we teach at 35. These are more for your really quick sales, making sure people are protected. But when you're in person having a really value-based sales conversation, and look, even when you're on the phone, when you're talking to a homeowner on those mortgage payoff protector days, why wouldn't you consider bringing up 1 million in coverage? 1 million just doesn't go very far today. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, get back to here. $1 million, term. What term is? Fixed rate, fixed time frame. Let's do 20 years in this example. And $1 million in coverage. What this means, Mr. Customer, is we guarantee you, as long as you make the payment every single month, this policy will always be in effect for the next 20 years. The rate will never change. And if anything happens to you, your family is going to get a check. Tax-free. Uncle Sam doesn't know about it. You don't get taxed on it. It doesn't count as income for $1 million. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Well, yeah. And then they always ask, well, what happens after the 20 years? Year 20, I'm going to be calling you at year 19, all right? At a minimum. We're going to meet multiple times throughout your tenure with us. But at year 19, I'm going to be having a conversation around what does your life insurance plan look like after this? And we're going to have that conversation prior to, but if you've never got another policy in force, we're going to make sure, because the rate's going to go up in 20 years because you're older. You're older, all right? Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? They're like, yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like renting an apartment is what I tell them. It's like renting an apartment for 20 years. And at the end of 20 years, you might have to find a new place to live. Rent's going to go up in 20 years with inflation. Like, things go up. But it's a fantastic policy for the 20 years, all right?